The officers' club at Fort Braxton erupted with laughter loud and sharp like cannon fire. Crystal glasses trembled violently on the heavy mahogany table. "You serious kid." Colonel Marcus Steele leaned out of his leather chair, his icy blue eyes glittering with ruthless mockery as he stared down the 12-year-old girl standing at full attention in front of his desk, surrounded by more than a dozen senior officers. Natasha Johnson, that was her name, didn't flinch. She held her stance just as her father had taught her. Tiny fists clenched at her sides, holding tight to an old yellowing envelope. Pinned to her chest, her father's Medal of Honor, awarded posthumously to Sergeant Award Johnson, glinted quietly. A painful reminder of why she was standing here in a room full of scornful stares that looked at her like some insect that had lost its way. "Sir, I respectfully request access to the shooting range today." Natasha repeated, her voice steady and composed, even though her hands trembled just slightly. "Today marks the 3rd anniversary of my father's death in combat. I would like to honor him the way he taught me by training." Colonel Steele let out a thunderous laugh, slapping the desk so hard the officer's glasses nearby nearly tipped over. "Did you hear that? The brat thinks she can shoot?" He jabbed a finger in Natasha's direction and the room exploded again, this time like a wave of poison gas. "What's next?" he sneered. "She gonna ask to fly our jets, too?" The officers around him broke into sneering chuckles, more contempt than comedy. Some muttered dark remarks that Natasha pretended not to hear. "Kids should be playing with dolls," grumbled Lieutenant Colonel Thompson. "Girls belong in school, not messing with rifles," added Captain Williams, drawing another burst of cruel laughter. What none of them knew, what Natasha kept as a sacred secret, was that her father, Sergeant Award Johnson, had not been just any soldier. For 6 years straight, he was the undisputed, unofficial sharpshooting champion of the entire base. Every afternoon after school, every Saturday and Sunday morning, Natasha had trained in secret with him, lessons passed down like whispered legends among only the most seasoned vets. Nothing on record, nothing official. 3 years ago, when the grief was still raw and her eyes still red from crying, Natasha had whispered a promise over the folded flag atop his coffin. A promise only she could hear. Since that day, it had burned quietly inside her, fueling every silent morning session, every breath held in focus, every round fired in solitude. "Listen, kid," Steele said, standing up and walking around the desk slowly, deliberately. His shadow stretched across Natasha, looming and heavy. "This ain't a place for children to play guns. Guns aren't toys, ranges aren't playgrounds. Go home, turn on some cartoons, leave the serious stuff to grown-ups." The humiliation seared her cheeks like hot metal, but Natasha inhaled, deep, and in her small chest something rose, not a fiery rage, but a strange, cold calm. It was what her father had called battle stillness. Keep your mind cool when the world tries to crush it, when teachers questioned her intellect, when classmates mocked her ambition. She had learned to stay quiet, to wait for the right moment. Sir Natasha replied, her voice gentle yet unwavering, just enough to freeze a few of the men mid-laugh. "I've submitted full documentation with authorized supervision from the Military Welfare Division. All safety protocols have been met. My request is fully within base regulation." Lieutenant Colonel Peterson, sitting to Steele's right, nearly choked on his whiskey. She even memorized the regulations. How adorable. Laughter erupted once more, but this time a few of the officers started to squirm, sensing the cruelty was going a bit too far. That was when Natasha looked up, and her eyes locked with Steele's for the very first time. And something in that gaze made his smirk falter. Just for a second. It wasn't defiance. It wasn't fear. It was something else entirely. A quiet strength, something far too big, too ancient to belong to a 12-year-old girl. It was the kind of gaze that only came from those who had lived through war. The calm of a soul that had walked through storms and come out the other side. Steele blinked, then shook it off, sliding back into the familiar mask of contempt. Stubborn little brat. He growled, voice low, "Fine. If you're so damn set on this, let's play a little game. If you can hit 3 out of 10 targets at 50 meters, I'll personally sign off on your request." But if you fail, and you will then promise me one thing: never waste important men's time with childish fantasies ever again. Inside Natasha's chest, a fire roared to life, but her face remained still. I accept your terms, sir. She stood there, surrounded by sneers and smirks like a sentinel guarding some ancient truth. Because none of those men knew the real reason Natasha Johnson had come. She wasn't just here to honor her father. She was here to fulfill a promise to turn her greatest humiliation into the most unforgettable reckoning this military base had ever seen. Perfect Steel sneered lips curling into a shark's grin, like he could already smell blood in the water. Gentlemen to the range, we're about to witness a masterclass in harsh reality. With a flick of his hand, he summoned the group like a ringmaster calling for the next cheap circus act. Lieutenant Colonel Thompson stood up, rubbing his hands together, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Couldn't ask for better entertainment. Bet she runs home crying before she can even lift the damn rifle. The pack of officers howled like a den of well-fed hyenas. Every insult, every cackle, rubbing salt into Natasha's resolve. She followed them in silence, staying a few steps behind, hearing every venomous whisper they didn't even bother to lower their voices for. I'll bet she faints after the first shot, muttered Captain Williams. Or she'll scream, Mommy, like it's preschool all over again, another snickered. But none of them knew the truth, that Natasha had been to that very range, hundreds of times. For the past 3 years since her father's death, every Saturday at 5:30 a.m., while the entire base still slept, she'd been there in secret. And the one who opened the gate for her, an old maintenance man, a veteran, someone who had once fought beside Ward Johnson himself. No paperwork, no promises. Just a silent understanding between two souls who knew what it meant to honor the fallen. When they finally reached the range, Steele gestured toward the table lined with standard-issue rifles. Pick your weapon for public humiliation, kid, he snorted. Hint, go for the lightest one. You might actually be able to hold it. Natasha stepped up to the table, unshaken, unhurried. Her small fingers glided over each weapon, brushing against cold steel with a familiarity that didn't match her age. She stopped at the Glock 19. It was the very gun her father had used to teach her first lessons when she was just 7 years old. Well, that's an interesting choice, Steele mocked, pretending to be impressed. At least you'll lose with style. The officers burst out laughing again. But this time, some nearby soldiers who had only gathered out of curiosity began to feel that maybe this wasn't funny anymore. Sergeant Rodriguez, the base's official firearms instructor, stepped forward, clearly uneasy. He had served with Ward Johnson, and he knew those rumors about Johnson's unofficial sharpshooting legacy weren't rumors at all. Sir, he said quietly, maybe we should have additional supervision. She's still a minor, nonsense. Steele cut him off coldly. The brat wants to play soldier, let her train like one. No shortcuts, no hand-holding. There was something in his tone, something so void of empathy that even his own men looked away, discomfort flickering on their faces. Natasha began checking the gun, each motion smooth and deliberate. Rodriguez watched, frowning slightly. She removed the magazine, inspected the chamber, tested the trigger. Every move was methodical, practiced, as if she'd done it 1,000 times. Well, well, Steele muttered, amused. Looks like Daddy managed to teach you a few tricks. Before he died. That line about her father's death sliced through Natasha's heart like a blade. But she didn't flinch, didn't blink. Her expression stayed the same. Then something strange happened. Natasha closed her eyes. A moment of stillness, eerie, palpable. And when she opened them again, the 12-year-old girl was no longer there. On her face was something chilling, a focus so absolute it was almost inhuman. Calm, cold, deadly. I'm ready, she said. Her voice made a few nearby veterans twitch. They'd heard that tone before from old soldiers just before stepping into missions no one expected them to return from. Steele stood behind her, arms crossed, surrounded by scoffs and smug glances. They whispered among themselves, how many will she miss before she breaks? Think she'll even hit one all right, kid, Steele said, still dripping with arrogance. 10 rounds, targets 50 meters out, just 3 hits and you win. Should be easy. For someone raised by a soldier, right? But what they didn't know was this. Award Johnson wasn't just a great marksman. He was the man snipers came to when they wanted to survive missions no one else did. And Natasha had absorbed every lesson, every technique, every survival trick he'd passed down from 2 decades in combat. More importantly, they didn't know she had spent 847 hours over the last 3 years training for this very moment. All those early mornings, all the holidays, all the hours other kids spent playing, she spent perfecting her aim, all to keep a promise whispered at her father's grave. As Natasha got into position, something in the air shifted. The wind seemed to still. The laughter quieted. Even Steele felt a chill run down his spine. Every insult, every taunt, they'd only fueled the fire inside her. And now those born with privilege and power were unknowingly writing their own downfall. Because Natasha Johnson, 12 years old, was about to become the reckoning this base would never forget. Bang. The first bullet sliced through the air and landed dead center. Not near the edge, not just on target, but exactly in the bullseye. Right inside the smallest red ring, where only elite sharpshooters could hope to hit consistently from 50 meters. The laughter died instantly. The range fell silent, like all sound had been sucked into a vacuum. Steele stood frozen, eyes locked on the target as if he had just witnessed something beyond reason. Bang, the second shot. It struck right beside the first, separated by just a few millimeters. Sergeant Rodriguez held his breath, eyes wide. He knew now, this wasn't luck, this was technique, this was breath control, this was the calm, deadly precision of a true sniper. Bang, the third shot. It punched into the tiny gap between the first two, forming a perfect triangle at the heart of the target. Steele said nothing. Thompson looked like he'd swallowed his own tongue. Williams, the one who bet she'd drop the gun, was now quietly backing away into the crowd, face pale. Bang, 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 3 more shots. All landed inside the maximum scoring ring, not even a centimeter off. Natasha didn't flinch, didn't tilt her head, didn't adjust her stance. She didn't need to. Every shot was a perfect replica of the last. The 12-year-old girl was operating like a machine programmed by genius, forged in pain. Rodriguez leaned toward the man next to him and whispered, "She's not just good. She's a phenomenon." The other replied, eyes still fixed on Natasha, "She's a legend come to life." Bang shot number 7. Steele swallowed hard. Someone in the back tried to save face. Maybe the target's faulty scoring system glitched. No, Rodriguez said, coldly cutting him off. I inspected everything. It's real. Bang, the 8th shot. The bullseye now looked like it had been drilled through, not from one bullet, but from 8 consecutive rounds landing in the exact same spot, that kind of grouping impossible for the average soldier. Bang shot 9. Rodriguez slowly turned to Steele, his gaze meeting the colonel's for the first time as an equal, sir. If this girl receives proper training, she'll shatter every record in military history. Steele didn't respond. He couldn't. He was being crushed under the weight of his own pride. As the 10th and final round was chambered, the entire shooting range stood still. No more whispering. No one even dared breathe too loud. Natasha took one deep inhale, relaxed her body just like her father had taught her, and squeezed the trigger. Bang! The final bullet pierced through the exact center of the previous 9. No one saw it land because it didn't need to. It had joined the others. They were one. Sergeant Rodriguez stepped forward, carefully unhooking the target sheet. Every eye followed his movement as if waiting for a verdict from the highest court. He raised the paper. No need for words. 10 bullets. 10 bullseyes, grouped within a circle less than 3 centimeters wide. Steele opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The girl had just shattered every shooting standard ever set at this military base. A soldier muttered under his breath, "That's a perfect score." Rodriguez took a deep breath, turning to Natasha. "Who trained you?" Natasha answered without hesitation. "My father, First Sergeant Award Johnson." That name. It jolted a few of them awake, because Award wasn't just any soldier. He had once been invited by the Pentagon to train their elite sniper unit. But he turned them down. Everything he knew he passed to only one person, his daughter, Natasha. Steele swallowed hard, trying to regain his voice. No matter the result, this was still just a demonstration. A minor holding a firearm on a military base is a violation. This whole thing, Rodriguez stepped forward, cutting him off. With all due respect, Colonel, this girl just broke the record of every marksman ever trained at Fort Landon. The previous record was 9 bullseyes, set by you, in 1996. Steele froze. A young soldier nearby tried to hide a grin but failed. A few of the older men began clapping. Timid at first, then louder. The entire range erupted in applause. Not because a girl hit 10 perfect shots, but because of how she stood there. No arrogance, no fear, no begging for validation. Natasha Johnson had just rewritten the rules with her own hands. Colonel Steele didn't return to his office right after the shooting session. He needed time to process the slap to his ego, to figure out how to spin a public humiliation into something else. An excuse, a strategy, anything that could restore control. But the storm didn't wait for him to be ready. The moment he stepped into HQ, Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell was already there, waiting. Mitchell said nothing. He simply raised a tablet. On the screen, Natasha's entire shooting sequence playing back shot by shot. Each bullet came with a heat map of its landing, bright red, dead center. Steele stared in silence, then sighed. How many people have seen this? The whole base, Mitchell said evenly. Anyone who hasn't is watching it now. Steele bit his lip. Mitchell set the tablet down on the desk, still calm, still expressionless. I've served under your command for 11 years, Colonel, he said. I've put up with the arrogance, the ego, even your worst decisions. But today, you crossed a line. Mitchell, spare me the righteous axe, Steele snapped. We're talking about a kid. No ID, no rank, no record. She picked up a weapon, broke protocol. What do you want me to do, promote her? Mitchell didn't answer right away. He stepped closer to the desk. Each slow step, a quiet rebuke of every lie Steele was trying to wrap around this disaster. I think, he said finally, you should shut your mouth and start writing your report. Report for abuse of authority. For using a minor as a prop in a public power play just to humiliate her. For allowing an underage civilian to operate military weapons without supervision. And for mocking the memory of a fallen soldier right in front of his daughter. Steele raised an eyebrow. You threatening me? Mitchell tilted his head slightly, smiled. No, Colonel. I'm saving you. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a USB drive, and placed it on the desk. This is a copy of the video, Mitchell said. If I send it to the Department of Defense, you won't just lose your rank. Steele said nothing, but the fury in his eyes said enough. Mitchell leaned in, locking eyes with him. I know you used to be good, but today you're a coward. And the sad truth is, the daughter of the man you always envied just proved it with 10 bullets. Steele had no comeback. No one on base could deny what had just happened. Meanwhile, Natasha sat alone in the near-empty mess hall. A tray with a cold, untouched sandwich sat in front of her. She wasn't hungry, just drained. Not from the 10 shots, but from 3 years of buildup, the foggy mornings, the dreams that replayed the sound of gunfire, the quiet crying wiped away before she stepped out the door. Footsteps. Sergeant Rodriguez walked in holding a cold soda. For you. He set the can down on the table. I should probably apologize for letting you shoot today, but if I could go back, I'd still let you do it. Because what you did wasn't just proving something to yourself. You made this entire base take a hard look at how it treats the kids who carry a soldier's legacy. Natasha looked up, said nothing. Rodriguez sat across from her. His voice lowered. You know, I was there the day your father died. I was the one who picked up his final shell casing. He fired that round. To save a dumb rookie who nearly gave away our position. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small object and placed it on the table. A shell casing. This one's his. Keep it. I think it belongs with you. Natasha's fingers trembled as she picked it up. That tiny piece of brass weighed like 100 memories crashing down all at once. Thank you, she whispered. Rodriguez nodded gently. You don't need to thank me, just remember this. You're a warrior. Even if you don't wear the uniform yet, even if your name's not on any roster, you're already part of this place, its blood, its bones. Elsewhere on base, Steele sat alone in his office staring blankly. He knew. The game was almost over, but not yet, not today, because he still had one card left to play. He picked up his phone, dialed. "I need to speak with the regional commander. It's urgent." His face darkened. A new plan was forming, because if he couldn't destroy Natasha Johnson with a weapon, he'd use the system.